Hello and welcome in. I am Miss Kinghorn and we are back here in Falconer City in City Skylines 2. And as promised, we are finally working on our downtown area. Now, this is going to be part 1. I'm not going to tell you how many parts because honestly, I don't know. And I don't want to say, oh, it's going to be doing 2 when it turns out it's going to be like 3 or 4 or whatever. Anyway, today we make a really good start on getting this sort of set up. And what I had in my mind for this, so I was kind of looking through lots of the pieces, like the signature buildings, some like the railway station that we're sort of starting on here, some sort of larger commercial museums, parks, plazas, those sorts of things. I've kind of been going through them all, working out what I wanted, how much space we need. I actually did a lot of terraforming off sort of camera as well for this, because what area I originally designated as sort of this downtown turned out to be quite a small space, which I thought would work until I saw how big some of the pieces are. Now, I've come through and fixed all of that. Anyhow, yeah, the city had to basically, or this downtown area had to grow. So some of the mountains kind of don't make too much sense at this point. I will kind of go back through and kind of smooth out a few things, and in some places move them a little bit closer, in some places move them a little bit further away, and like tidy those up kind of once we've all finished with this. But for the first part, we are working on this sort of main central train station. Now, this is going to be quite a busy area. So this is kind of our transport hub coming into here. So what we actually have is a large, I think it's a 4-platform train station now into here. And then also this subway sort of station plaza area, which I am actually going to keep with just the 2 sort of lines on. I did look at sort of the other extended bit, but I don't think we really need them. And I was kind of thinking I would have preferred trams, but I don't know. I thought a subway kind of made a little bit more sense for this rather than a subway. I don't know. I'm open to both, I suppose, maybe, possibly, perhaps, in the future. I don't know. But what I have done is kind of converted this into a large roundabout. So I had fun with this. The road did not quite go into plan how I originally wanted it. I kind of had to smoosh it around a bit with Move It, which kind of makes it not quite perfect, but, you know, it was one of those things I just sort of had to settle on, and yeah. But what we've kind of got in here is a really nice connecting between the sort of the trains, the sort of underground subway, and this does also become quite a busy bus stop. So you actually see that I placed lots of trees on the outside of this. This is actually a one-way sort of proper roundabout. I guess it's a one-way road through here. But yeah, when I come to putting the bus lines on later on, a lot of these trees on the actual road disappear. So I may have to come back through and kind of fix those at some point in the future. Now, this episode, we don't actually get any kind of proper train lines in place. This is me thinking it's flat. Yeah, I screwed that one up, didn't I? Anyway, we do get a subway line in from the university down to here. But that's kind of the only one, and I don't at this point have a depot for subway vehicles. I keep forgetting that we kind of now need to have them, so I forgot about it. We'll have to somehow manage to fit that in, because this subway is not going to go other than sort of this side of the river. I'm not running it across. That's not gonna happen. So I felt like this up here was maybe one of the furthest sort of outposts kind of thing, and we have got a lot of sort of buses that run to this sort of area in here. I did think about trying to put it into this little plaza, then realised it has a fence all the way around it. It just didn't really work. I am not a great lover of any of these subway sort of entrances or like pedestrian entrances. I am probably going to have to find some on the workshop. Yeah, because none of them really kind of do it for me. They've either got like massive big fences around, or like this one, a huge plaza. I really just want a little like steps down, like a really small, simple one. But you know, kind of resigned myself to the fact that that wasn't going to be the case for this episode. So maybe possibly in the future we'll kind of change some of these out. But I feel like this one maybe fits in here a little bit better. And yeah, it is on a really steep slope coming down here. So how actually physically possible this is going to be, I don't know. I feel like you are going up quite a large hill into this, but you can kind of see where the city is actually going to be. So from that gorgeous, if I do not say so myself, roundabout that we did the last episode, then it's just sort of down that hill, kind of tucked in. You've got like the little highway that comes off around the side here, that sort of all links in, and there is also a couple of bridges that link through into sort of the other areas of sort of the city and bridges and stuff that connect that through. But we're coming back into here now, and getting all of this sort of all lined up. I do eventually connect this through onto sort of the main, like I get a proper train line that actually goes out this way. I link all of those together. I wasn't entirely sure how I felt about kind of all of those, but we're now getting in at some of the other buildings. That building I did not like. It was the big administrative building. We do get a smaller version in here. I think we end up with this one, whereas I think the other one was the Chinese one, and it looks good, but honestly it just didn't feel quite right for this, and I think in the end we settle on this one right here with that sort of really nice little plaza out the front of it, and we sort of just move some of the road network around. This area is not perfectly flat because, well, I did it and we all know that terraforming is not my thing. Anyhow, into here, so you can sort of see I pull out quite a few sort of signature buildings for this in here, and I actually have quite a lot of fun trying to mix the sort of the modern in with some of the older kind of style that we definitely are going to use in this sort of city. In here, I didn't like that road. It was a pedestrian path, but honestly it felt like way too big and too unnecessary, so I kind of got rid of all of that a little bit into here. And yeah, realizing that there is also a slope here because the building is on sort of the ground level where everything else here is raised up. I don't know why. I thought I had done everything flat, but you know, it is what it is. I was looking at putting another one of these in. It didn't quite fit because of the terraforming, but we fixed that, mainly by getting everything raised up to that level. And in the end we go for a big awning, which I cannot find. They are here. Some of these are absolutely gorgeous, but some are huge. So I kind of settled on this one here, which has kind of got the nice little sort of glass panels on the middle. I don't necessarily know why I did this and why this had to be here, but I've got this huge sort of plaza right in the middle, and I thought, you know what, it kind of makes sense to have something here rather than just like a plant box into there. And so yeah, that's kind of what we did. I've got in a little bit more of a plaza sort of coming around this side. One thing I was conscious of, and it's actually something we do later on, is that I don't want parking on any of these roads. So we do end up changing these out to have bike lanes and also have trees on all of the roads. I feel like it's just one of those things that just makes everything look and feel a little bit nicer into here. And also it helps with like pollution and noise and things like that. And I feel like in this city, noise is something that I maybe didn't focus too much on. You do kind of have a mix of housing, commercial, office space, government buildings, kind of all mixed in together. So yeah, talking of that, we are now going to get in. Well, we're looking at hospitals here, but we end up placing down, I do actually believe, houses in this area. Oh no, we've got a little, this little hotel, I think it is, in here. I just thought that was a really nice little cornerstone kind of one that fits in with that diagonal road into here. And now we go into housing. Now for this, I've actually gone for the French housing. I just feel like these are maybe a little bit more older, sort of more classical kind of city buildings, and it just kind of feels like it works a little bit more. So we've kind of got UK style over on sort of the other kind of like mass suburban areas, and then we have placed down some of the Southwest American buildings for like the waterfront and all of those, because they feel like a little bit more modern, like a redevelopment of the old sort of. And now over this side we are going to bring in some more older sort of French buildings, which I feel like maybe they're not quite as French. They kind of just like old style kind of buildings. But here is one of these ginormous buildings that I said about. This is the National Gallery, I think it is. This was basically one of those buildings where I was like, it's definitely going in my city somewhere. And yeah, I'm really proud of actually the fact that we managed to get this in, because it is huge and you can sort of see how big it all is. But here is one of them, another main item that I really wanted to use. This is St. Paul's Cathedral. This is, gonna be one of those builds where I think it just makes so much more sense to kind of be in this UK inspired sort of city. So you know, like when you find just one item, whether it's like on the gallery, on the workshop, or wherever you find it, and you just think that's going to be perfect. This was one of these items. I basically knew right from the very get-go, I actually kind of had this in the bag, that this was going to be one of the central buildings in my city, sort of in the downtown area. I do kind of have a couple of them. I think there is also another one that I actually believe is a government building in America somewhere, but it kind of feels like it could also be like a cathedral. So maybe possibly we kind of get two, I don't know. But yeah, I really love that. I also like the fact it lights up when you click on it. Even if just like the mouse is over it, it actually all lights up into there. But I kind of really like how we've got that. And we've kind of got also some historical old homes that are definitely going to kind of get put into here somewhere. We have like some government kind of buildings from around the world that are all kind of like this old kind of style as well. So definitely kind of bringing that old in, but we're also going to kind of mix it in with a little bit of modern here and there, because things grow, things change over time. One thing you can kind of see is just how big some of these are. Like some of these original kind of in-game builds, like this, I think is the National Debt, well, it's something to do with debt anyway, is huge. And yeah, that was kind of what was throwing me off a little bit with this. But now, mixing it up with some modern, we're going to jump over to the other side here. So I'm not necessarily going to do a split down the middle of this city, but there is definitely going to be a more modern kind of section on this side. We've kind of got this big sort of Ferris wheel in here. I kind of thought on that nice little plot, sort of like it sticks out into the river. I just kind of thought it would be a really nice area for it. We do actually end up shifting that over a little bit, just because this road is not going to be big enough, and it does actually expand to being a four-way or four-lane. road eventually, but yeah, we do kind of get this in, which is another kind of museum, again kind of with that sort of modern sort of edge to it. And yeah, you can kind of see here I am changing all of this up because it doesn't quite fit. There's just not enough roads, there's not enough lanes in all of this in here. And also this is like right along the waterfront, so I kind of thought we maybe end up putting a key kind of in here, although I have got to be honest with you, the water level for this is actually really, really low, so I don't necessarily know if a key would work, just because of how close to the water like the land is. I feel like this area may flood, which may not be the best, but you know, I may have to kind of come in and put some defences or something in over here just to kind of, yeah, make that look a little bit better into there. But yeah, we've now got this sort of roundabout in, and I then actually realised none of the roads connect through to this new section on this side. So we've kind of linked the new bit in, but none of the old bit is actually connected to anything at the moment. So in the end, we come over here. I faff around trying to get this road over this tunnel here. For some reason, it just was not working. And yeah, you can see there is actually a terrain difference here. I don't know why. Again, it should have all been flat. I faff around for a little while. That's probably going to be the kind of takeaway words for this. I faff around a little bit. That middle roundabout, I don't know why I have it. I don't anymore. And there were so many issues I actually had when doing this. I got so frustrated because for my brain, it's like when I click off of a category, it should remove all of the sort of ideas that I had, like all of the, have it minus 10 meters, have tree, it should take all of that away, but it doesn't. So what I'm kind of left with is roads that don't make any sense because I click them, but they're not straight because I've got the round tag on. Anyway, it kind of just got really, really frustrating. And yeah, you kind of saw a little bit of that. I also, coming up, I'm gonna have some really bad issues with Move It. For some reason, it is at this point it is absolutely fine. Literally, when I place this next building, it just does not want to work in there at all anymore. So yeah, just a little bit of a warning to you. You are going to see a few more cuts coming up, just simply because I had so many issues and I don't know what it was. In the end, I've not had any kind of issues with Move It at all until like I tried to move this M building closer. I also tried to move the hospital slightly closer and it just doesn't work. Now you've seen I've used it throughout the whole of this episode. Yeah, I did it off camera. I have restarted the game. I have restarted my computer. I honestly do not know what the issue is. 1 minute it works perfectly fine. The next minute it does not. So I have no clue as to what the issue is. I have gone back an episode in my save and have not had any issues. I have kind of moved to a different area away from the city thinking it may be all of the buildings, but it's fine. So I really don't know what like the issue is with it. It's just one of those things that is just going to throw me off, but if it keeps happening, I'm not sure how well we're going to be able to do it. Like this, perfectly fine. Yeah, as you can tell, I got very, very frustrated. Anyhow, it's one of those things that is just, I'm just going to have to find a workaround for it, and yeah. But, you know, it's one of those things. Anyhow, we are now working here, getting in some more of these buildings. Now, some of them you would have been able to tell are office buildings. Some of them are houses. I've kind of mixed them all together here, which on the surface seems fine. However, when it comes to it, that may provide some noise issues. I'm hoping it doesn't, but I'm okay letting it. We have a few other noise issues around the city. We actually have quite a few, especially in like the farming area and stuff. So, which I've got to be fair, I live in the middle of the countryside. I can tell you farms are very noisy. Tractors and yeah, they're just noisy. So I'm not too bad about any of that. But yeah, obviously in the city it's going to be a little bit different into there. Now we have got the hospital in. We do eventually, or at some point we will be getting in the sort of fire station and the police. We've not yet got those in there, but that is something that we're going to kind of look at. And I do also at some point want to get a prison, but I'm not entirely sure where that's going to be. We do get the schools out here. I actually go for these, I think they're actually American, as a sort of, or a city high school, and I think this is the high school, yeah. And we kind of build that up. I just feel like it's kind of got that nice brick facade that kind of also really works in here. It could be a government building, or it could just be like a housing development. It could be. It kind of feels like it should be both. But anyway, that's kind of brought into here, and then we've kind of got this weird little space here by the train line. I feel like it's going to be quite noisy because we kind of got that tunnel, but I feel like we can maybe get that to work. And then over here is the primary elementary school thing. In there, we kind of mix that up with some office buildings next door. I did want a big city park in here. I feel like at some point we are going to do like a custom park in here, kind of like Hyde Park, kind of with lots of different kind of parks in it. But I'm also conscious of space, and I do need a lot, I say I need a lot of people living over here. I really don't want that many people living in the city. I feel like that would be too noisy. So yeah, I feel like maybe it's a place you go to work, or you go for like entertainment and stuff, but maybe you don't work there. That's kind of what I'm thinking, at least in my head, to there. Now, I did also have to get in this little church in here, just because we didn't have any funeral coverage, and although we have St. Paul's Cathedral, which technically you could, in theory in the UK, have your funeral in, you can't in-game. So it's just basic. I think it's actually like a park in-game, or like a tourist attraction in-game. But yeah, so I had to kind of get funeral coverage for this area over here as well. And I kind of thought, you know what, it kind of fits in here. We can kind of just get a little graveyard out the back with another church. Why not? There are quite a few churches also in London. Maybe not quite next to a cathedral, but you know, I had to do what I had to do, and I'm not going to complain about it. Anyhow, we have some more French buildings coming in here. These ones are a little bit bigger, but also there's less of them. And now this area is going to be kind of I'm not going to say high-rise, because it is not a high-rise buildings, but these are kind of all office kind of buildings in here. I kind of mix-mash through a lot of these, and kind of just sort of work out where I kind of wanted them to be. But these are some of the bigger sort of buildings we're going to have in our city. And yeah, I actually like this little trio over there that we've just done, with the three, with like the taller one in the middle. I'm going to be fair to you, if you are on one of the wings and you want to cross over, it's probably going to be quite a difficult... You kind of have to like walk all the way through the buildings, because I'm kind of imagining that they're all one building, not three individual. We do also have these two here that basically are the same building, just I think one's a level 4 or a level 3, and one's a level 5. So it's just a little bit like higher building wise, but it kind of also just fits in nicely, and we can all pretend that it is one building into there. Now I come along and do some sort of ground kind of work, trying to mix in some like paths and little plazas and kind of just fill in some of this space in here, because at the end of the day you would be able to kind of walk through some of these buildings. Some of them are like literally touching each other, others are a little bit more open. I'm sorry over here it's so dark. I have just basically built a giant skyscraper blocking the sunlight out, but this is sort of next to St Paul's Cathedral. We kind of have this little round footpath that kind of comes through and some trees, and I've just placed in a few more little trees over there into there. But yeah, we're just kind of going to be filling in a few little spaces, a few little details here and there, and just kind of smushing things together and just trying to make the place look a little bit more pretty. Now, if you have something or a building or something that you've found that you think would actually work in here, let me know in the comments, preferably with the link if possible, but if not, just tell me like how I can search for it, like what tag it would come under, that sort of thing, and I will have a look. Or you can tag me in a message on social media, I guess, or maybe in a comment on social media. All of the links to all of my social medias are in my link tree down there. And yeah, I'm kind of open to getting pretty much anything. I do want to get another football stadium. We have a big, I think it's the Ice Flake arena, which is kind of like an ice skating kind of arena in here, but I kind of feel like that's maybe more like a conference music venue more than a sporting arena. So I kind of want to get in like a football, UK football. We are building a UK city inspired city here in there. I think I have the Anfield, but I'm not sure if there's any others that I have or that maybe could work. So let me know any of those, any sort of parks. One thing I am actually really desperately looking for is a big statue or a fountain. You know that sort of curved space at the front of St Paul's? I was kind of looking for something like Nelson's Column, Trafalgar Square, kind of that big sort of monument kind of building. That's what I was thinking in my head was going to work there. I only have baby statues and they just did not really work. So yeah, if anyone has any sort of really large sort of statues that they think could work into there, let me know, because I really need some of those in there, or something that I can kind of smoosh together. If it's like a fountain with a statue that could kind of work on top or something like that, let me know. I'm sort of open to ideas, suggestions on how to make any of this all work into here. And now this is next to the high school. We've kind of come back to this sort of block over here, just getting in some more housing and yeah, some sort of smaller housing kind of fitting in here. We do have the subway station there. I will do some more of those as we kind of go through all of this, trying to work out what fits where, that sort of thing into here. Now you can see here I'm having so many issues with how this all comes together, and you're kind of seeing the jumps when I use tool. Sometimes I can use it, other times it just like I'm not gonna work. So yeah, it's one of those things. I said tool there, didn't I, instead of move it? Oh, sorry, wrong game. Oh dear. Anyway, right, more large buildings, but we're quickly coming up to the end of part one of this sort of city in here and how this is all going to work. Now, plan wise, I'm not sure when we're going to be coming back. I have so many ideas and things I would like to do, and time is really quickly coming away before Planet Zoo 2 comes out, and we've got a few more episodes of that. So I may do some back-to-back habitats in there. I don't know. Your best thing to do if you want to keep up to date with this is obviously subscribe to me here on YouTube. You can also follow me on pretty much all social medias. As I said earlier, the links to those are down in the description or in my link tree. But yeah, that's what I would do to keep up to date with any of my videos. But for now, I will leave you with some cinematic shots. But until next time, stay happy and stay building, everyone. Bye!